Hi creative friends, it's Ashley of Thrifty Chica. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys a really fun craft, and this is using Dollar Tree supplies and your Cricut machine. So if you haven't tried working with layered paper cardstock, this is such a fun craft to do. You can really play around and have fun, and it's a super cute design for spring or for Easter, whichever you prefer. So let's go ahead and talk about what you'll need for this project. We're going to start out using some Dollar Tree cardstock and some Dollar Tree foam tape. You can also use Cricut cardstock, which is a really great option for budget because you get a ton in each pack. And you'll want to use your blue mat. So you can use this project with the Explorer Air 2 or the Maker, or if you wanted to size it down and make a tiny bunny, you could do it with the Cricut Joy too. I'm also going to be using some of the stickers for the eyes and Dollar Tree ribbon as well. Hi guys, so we're inside Cricut Design Space and we're going to be working on starting this project. So if you've never worked with Design Space or you're a beginner to Design Space, when you log in you'll see this is your home screen and it'll have projects that you currently have been working on, some from the Cricut community, a lot of different types of inspiration. So what you can do if you want to search for a project, you can go ahead and click on a brand new project, and you can go into where it says projects here, and you can search by categories. You can search for any type of different project that you want. If you want to work with vinyl, you can type in vinyl. We're going to search for 3D Bunny, which is the name of the project. And it brings up this specific one here. So I have the link in the description box for you, but I wanted you guys to see a look at how Cricut lays out the projects in case you've never played with one of these before. So Cricut will show you some demonstrations of what the project looks like. And I was really inspired when I saw this because I thought, there's so many materials at Dollar Tree that would be perfect for this. So we're going to be creating this 3D layered bunny, and it gives you the description of all the information that you need here. I'm going to go into customize so I can show you guys how this is set up. So when you load this into Design Space, you'll notice that it shows all of the different layers here and it's for each side of the bunny. So if you're wondering, how do I assemble this? This is the key to learning how to assemble something. If you're using the desktop version, you'll see this layers panel on the right hand side. If you're using a mobile device, you'll find it at the very bottom of the screen. It'll be next to where there's all the buttons along here. There'll be a little section that says layers, and you can click on that. It'll bring up all of these different layers. So how do you assemble this? When you see something that has so many different layers, it can get very confusing. So what you'll do is you'll scroll all the way to the bottom here, and what it does is it tells you how it's laid out. So you know that whatever is the bottom layer here is the layer that we're going to work with first. So I'm going to make all these other layers disappear by clicking the little eye icon, and what that does is it hides them. So I'm just hiding everything right now so we can take a look at how this is assembled. So after we cut everything, we're going to assemble it this way. So first we have this larger layer here, and then when we hide that, and we can see the next layer is going to be this little peep looking layer that will go on top of that first layer, and then we'll be assembling the head, and then another layer to the head and the body, and then the outside layers of the feet. And then lastly, we're going to add these little trim options for the legs on the bottom. And then it will have you go back to the start again, and you'll be assembling the body again for the other side. So if you're curious, how do I assemble this? How does this go together? Just remember, always scroll down to the bottom and it will show you layer by layer so that you can make sure that everything is assembled. Now that we've taken a look at that, let's go ahead and we're going to make all of these visible again. And that way we can go back in and start cutting everything. And the neat thing is you can see as it's added on here how that adds layer by layer. So what we'll do is we're going to click make it on our machine. It's going to walk us through how many different mats we need to use. If we're using a standard size mat, you're going to be using 5 different sheets of cardstock. So let's go ahead and cut those. After we've selected continue, we're going to be choosing which material we're going to use. So you can browse through all the different materials, or you can choose ones that you may have already selected. There's a lot of different options for working with paper and cardstock, so you can really set it to customize exactly what you're using. So you can use like heavier cardstock if you're using the thicker one. You can use medium cardstock. I generally choose, if it's a normal thickness, like 65 to 80 pound, I'll usually choose cardstock for intricate cuts. And then what you can do is, if you need to adjust the pressure depending on the thickness of the material, you can. So that's an option. You'll want to load your tools and materials. So we're going to use the standard fine point blade and load that in clamp B. And now we're ready to go. We're going to go ahead and load each mat individually and cut them. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll want to unpack your cardstock from the package, and just taking a look at it, you'll notice that there are two different sides to this cardstock. One is a kind of a shinier side, and the other is a more matte side. So the shinier side is the part that is the nicer side for it. So you're going to place it on your mat face up with the shinier side on it, and you're going to adhere it to your mat. We're using the blue mat because it has less adhesive, so it's perfect for working with paper and cardstock. And now this one's ready to load into the machine. For this example, I'm using the Cricut Maker. However, you can do this project as well with the Cricut Explorer 2. They're set up exactly the same way for this. We're going to make sure that we have the correct blade loaded in clamp B. We're using the standard fine point blade that comes with the machine. It's perfect for using with paper and cardstock. And then we're going to load this straight into the machine with our material. Now the project information will be transmitted to your Cricut machine, and when it's ready to go, the Cricut symbol will start flashing. You'll press the button and it'll start completing your project. Next, we're ready to unload the mat, so you're going to press the arrow button and you can take a look at the project and see where it's cut so you know what you're going to be removing. We'll flip the mat over, and as we flip the mat over, we're going to remember trying not to bend or move our cardstock too much. We want to move the mat away from the project. Using the spatula tool is a really great way to do that. So that way you keep your project intact without getting bent, and you can just fold your mat away from it. Remember to be careful when you're working with cardstock because it does move very easily. Next, you're going to take your project pieces and just make sure that you clear off your mat and set your project pieces aside so that you don't lose them. And then we're going to load our mat again with more cardstock, and we're going to continue the same process that we did before. So just make sure it's completely adhered to your mat and there are no lumps or bubbles. And then we're going to move on, adding this to our machine and cutting it and going through the same process again. Now we're at the part where we're going to start assembling our bunny. This is a 3D bunny, so when we're working with it, you're going to notice that there are duplicates of everything, and it's going to be arranged by size. So what we're going to be doing is separating everything into each side, and then we're going to also arrange it by size, and that way it makes the assembly process a lot quicker. You're also going to want to break out your crafting tape. This is the Dollar Tree pop-up tape. They also have foam squares or foam dots as well, whichever you can find. I love these because you get a ton for $1, so one of my favorite ones. I'm going to go ahead and start separating these and making this a little bit easier to see visually where everything goes. If you're working with the Dollar Tree cardstock, something that you can use as a great visual guide is if you turn it over, you can see it's a flat type of paper on the cardstock. If you have it face up, when we cut it face up, it has this nice shiny texture. It makes it really easy to tell which side is facing up. So find the shiny side on it, and we're going to place those in each separate pile. What we're going to do is start out with the bottom layer on the design. So if you go into Design Space, you'll see on the layers panel, the first layer that you're going to be working with is this layer that has the kind of hair section here. So you can see kind of the back end of the bunny and the hair. So this is the main section that we're going to work off of. So these two are going to go together. As you can tell, they're both have the shiny sides here. We're going to place them wrong side together, so the not so pretty sides will be glued together with the dimensional tape. So it'll look like this both sides. I'm going to go ahead and open up the tape, and we'll start applying it in between. So I'm going to take both of these and place them wrong side up here. So this is the not so pretty side, and I'm going to cut tape to go in between them so that we get a nice dimensional image. Now that I have this section with tape adhered across it, I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing from all of this tape. So I have the other side of this, and remember we have the wrong sides of this together. I'm going to line this up so that it looks as even as possible. You can use the hair as a guide mark, you can use the bottom of the body, whichever is the easiest for you to line up, but they should line up pretty evenly. So I'm going to use the bottom as my guideline here. Since we are working with cardstock, it's more likely to bend, so just be careful when you're working with it not to press too hard. We're ready to apply the next layer, and for this layer we're going to be using this one that has kind of a little peep shape. It's a cutout with the mouth. Make sure that you apply some tape along the back here, and then we're going to line this one up as well. You'll remove your paper backing from your design. And you can see all the tape here. We're going to line this one up using the bottom as our guide mark as well on this one. Just lightly press this down, so that way you can start to see the 3D effect of this as it's going along. Now we're going to do the other side, doing the exact same thing as we did on the other, just make sure you use more of 3D tape on the wrong side of this one. And we're going to line this one up on the bottom as well. And I'm just pressing down on this one lightly. For the next step, what we're going to do is use the solid pieces here that look like the head and ears for the bunny. You can tell if you have it arranged correctly because there's this flat shape along here, and then this is for the head, and then it projects out to the ears. So this will be for the right side here, and then this one is for the left side here based on that. So now we know when we go to apply it, we're going to have to make sure that we line this up so that way it clears where the hair is and it kind of projects outwards. So we want it so that it kind of sticks out a little bit out that way. And then you might not be able to see it, hopefully you can. You'll see where it kind of lines up flat along the bottom here. So it'll have kind of the same level here. So there's the bottom here, and it'll have the bottom of the head here as well. We're gonna go ahead and add some tape to this one. So what I'm going to do is flip this over to the wrong side and add tape, and then we'll apply it to the head. I've placed tape on both sides of the ear, and we have the head on this section. Make sure that you line up the head along where the point of the mouth is here. So that's something to keep in mind. We're going to try to make sure we don't have this interfere with where the hair is. So we just want this to line up pretty evenly with the bottom of this along with where the point of the nose is. So I'm going to place this one down. And now this one still has adhesive to get applied to the other section. So what I'm going to do is place this one over. I'm going to apply adhesive to the bottom section of this head, and then because there's adhesive already on here, I'll skip applying adhesive to that part. And now the fun part is to make sure that we line this up so that all the pieces interconnect here. So I'm going to line this part up and keep an eye on where this lands for the ears. Because I've already done the work on the other side, this should line up exactly. There are a couple more steps for the next one. The next pieces that go together are the pieces with the cutouts for the eyes and the ears. This gives it a more dimensional look when you place this on top because you'll see the layer that's right underneath that popping through. And then we're also going to be using the section for the body itself, and this will give it a little bit more dimension as well. So when you place this here, then it creates the movement for the legs. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to apply the pieces for the head because I think that's going to be the easiest one to get out of the way first. So remember, you have your right side that looks a little bit nicer and shinier, and then you have the wrong side. So I'm going to apply adhesive to the wrong side of this using the smaller adhesive from Dollar Tree, and then we'll go ahead and apply those on both sides, and then we'll add the little body sections. If you apply adhesive and you have a little bit sticking over, you can always trim that so it's not visible. Okay, I have that one taped, and because this one has a flat side on here, I know it's going to go on this side of the bunny. If I placed it on the other side, it wouldn't match the side. So I'm going to place this on and just line it up. And as you can see, there's a little section notched out for the eyes and the little section notched out for the ears, so you can kind of see more depth inside the ears for the bunny. Let's go ahead and switch it over and do the same on the other side. So same thing, we're gonna just apply this following the lines that were already set for us with the other pieces. And then just press down carefully so that you don't bend the cardstock. For this section, we're going to assemble the body. So the legs are going to need to extend out past the chest of the rabbit here. So when you're assembling it, just make sure that you assemble it so that there's a little bit of space between the back section here, and then we're going to assemble it so that it overhangs a little bit towards the front. So I'm just going to flip this over so you can get kind of a better look of it. As you can see, that piece would extend a little bit out from there. Let's flip this over and repeat this on the other side. Now that we have that taped, we can use the front section as a little bit of a guide for where we place this. So just take a look at the bottom and that front section and try to get it as even as possible. Okay, so now we're down to the parts with the feet. So as you can tell, there's a larger section and a smaller section. So what we're going to do is layer these sections over on this section of the bunny. So we're going to take this larger section and apply this to the back here. So you'll get like a little layered pop out for the leg. And then we'll apply this one over here for another little layered pop out for this leg. So you guys can kind of see there's a little bit more dimension there. And we're going to do this repeating it on both sides. We're going to line this piece up on the hindquarters here. We don't want it to be all the way back. We want it to sit forward just slightly. And we're going to line this up along the bottom here, so that way you can see it right along the bottom seam. Just lightly press it down so that it adheres, but without bending the cardstock. And we're going to do the same with this smaller foot as well, right in the front. We're going to line this right up here along with the outline of the foot that's already created. So I'm just holding this like this so that I can kind of really get into where the tip of that foot is. And then it'll line right back up along the top, and I can just press that down. And now you can see that there's multiple layers for the body. Let's flip this over and continue this again on the opposite side. And we're going to add this one along here on the bottom as well. I'm just going to press down and make sure everything is attached. So these are the last pieces left for assembly. So you can tell how they need to be arranged after you've placed this on here by following the curve of the leg. So for this one, I'm just placing this kind of centered as much as possible so that way it highlights the shape. And I have this one as well, which is the little tiny one that we're going to place in here once I add a little piece of tape. So you can see how that follows it and that follows it too. And you get a lot of really nice kind of detail because of the 3D pop outs on that. So there are tons of ways that you can dress up this bunny now that the bunny's been created. The easiest one is to add some of these little stickers into it. So this is going to be where the center of the eye is. If you check out where the sticker section is, sometimes they have just the little pearl stickers themselves. I'm out of those, so I'm just going to use some of these. They come with their own adhesive on the back, and when you're ready you can just remove that clear adhesive sticker sheet from it and then center this. It's easier sometimes if you use tweezers, it depends how steady your hands are, but you can center this in the middle of the eye. And then that way you get a nice little pop inside of there. I'm going to do this on the other eye as well. And if you want to have the same exact look as the project that's listed in Cricut Design Space, you can take some Dollar Tree ribbon. This is the really cute one that's very similar to the one that they use, and just tie a little bow to go around the neck here, and it'll look super cute. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you guys. Once you have your bow exactly how you like it, you can go ahead and trim the sections. I like to angle them so that the ribbon isn't too long and it has a nice finished look. If you're worried about your ribbon fraying, you can use something that's called Fray Check, and Fray Check can be found in the fabric section at most craft stores, and it seals the ends of that. You can also use something like a lighter, just exercise caution. But you can really play around with it and adjust it to make it look however you want. It's really up to you and whatever style you like. So if you don't like the more classic look, you can always do something more glam. Maybe add some of these for a really pretty sparkly collar. You can really change it up, add some lace if you like more of a shabby chic look. So there's a ton of different options. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like once it's styled. What do you think of the finished project? Super cute, right? If you're interested in more spring DIYs, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future content. I'll see you later.